What's up, everybody? Glover King here. We're gonna be doing a reaction to Chaze. He gonna be doing a ranking every DreamWorks movies. I did do a ranking DreamWorks movie before, but it was on a different channel. When everybody knows, I keep getting his name, but I call him S Productions because I can't pronounce his full name. Got bad with names. But we're gonna do Chase's every DreamWorks movie ranking list. So we're gonna get into this video right now. Oh, and another thing, like and subscribe to his channel as well.
Ants. Yes, the very first DreamWorks movie is Ants.
I never knew DreamWorks was the first ever movie of Pixar. Never knew that. It came out in 1998. This is the year I was born. Bo born like in December, so I was born in December. But we all know that Ants, the only reason why Ants started was because of they tried to compete with Pixar's Buzz Light.
I mean, who even remembers this movie anyway? Its entire purpose was probably just to compete with Pixar's A Bug's Life. That being said, I still think that this movie's not all that bad. Here's a quick summary. There's this ant called Z and an ant colony who's a worker ant. But Z doesn't want to be a worker ant. He wants to become like the Chad soldier ant because he wants to impress this prince.
I never knew the story. I forgot about the story, Ants, because I ain't seen it in a very long time.
Princess girl. So then he decides to go to war, somehow survive the war, and then kidnaps the princess. Pretty bold, you might.
Because Ants, I think in this one, where they find they would find something else. No, at Buzz Light they were facing those grasshoppers, not this movie.
Be thinking, but keep in mind this guy's a huge incel. They then find a picnic with some very not so subtle product placement. Fast forward to the end of the movie and they return back to the ant colony where everyone literally almost drowns and then Z saves them. Z ends up with the princess and the end. Honestly, for a first movie, this was kind of horrible. I mean, imagine the balls on someone to create a whole ass animation studio just to copy a movie. C tier.
This Prince of Egypt came in 1998. Never knew that. I never seen Prince of Egypt, but I heard that a lot of people love Prince of Egypt. He may put this in like A or S.
How in God's name is this a DreamWorks movie? I honestly forgot.
Cause what's this? The story of Moses and everything else?
For a second while watching this that this is the same company responsible for the goddamn Boss Baby. The Prince of Egypt is undeniably one of DreamWorks' greatest movies. It follows the story of Moses from the
Here's the story about Moses. Never read the Bible, but even I know this is a story about Moses.
Bible freeing the Hebrews from slavery, which indeed means that this.
I am surprised this is a DreamWorks movie. An actual Christian story about Moses. This should have been like a regular or different movie, not a DreamWorks movie.
This movie is canon to the Christ cinematic universe and also the Bible. And I mean, I just love that book. I even have a signed copy. Anyway, so the movie starts and shows us a bunch of Hebrew slaves rushing to hide their infants as a pharaoh orders on infanticide, which is basically the killing of all infant babies so as to reduce population. Whoa, when I thought that Finding Nemo had a dark start, this movie takes the cake. So Moses' mother releases Moses into the river in hopes that he can return to free the Hebrews. Years later, Moses, now part of the royal family of Egypt, finds out the dark truth behind where he came from and the fact that he was indeed adopted.
You're adopted.
He then runs away and starts a new life before.
Wait, that's the actual story of Moses? Is that really his story that he was adopted because like his mother he found that he's not Egyptian, he's Jewish or something?
Being called upon by God to go free his people. He goes back to try to reason with his brother, King Ramses, but to no avail. So he instead brings 10 plagues upon Egypt and commits mass infanticide, killing Ramses' son in the process.
Wait, that really happened? That's where the 12 plagues came from in Egypt? He came from the story in the Bible? Never knew. If that's true, or is it me just thinking far away somewhere?
Moses then leads the freed slaves to the Red Sea, but then gets pursued by King Ramses and his men. But with the power of God and anime on his side, Moses splits the water in half, crosses the sea, and then closes it down to the rest of the Egyptians. The end. Although no, this movie had no right to go this hard. Everything was just
what's this? Maybe their second movie, because I think he's going through the time. So this is their second movie. And this is their biggest movie.
Perfect. The music, the animation, the story, the raw emotional damage. Literally everything is executed so well. Easy S tier.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna put like SA. The Road to El Dorado. This movie came out in 2000. He may put in like A or B. I had never seen this movie, but I heard that people like this movie as well.
Alright, this is one of the best DreamWorks movies.
I'm glad that he give me a summary, because I need to know the summary. Some movies I know about, but not a lot of these movies
I've ever seen. Prior to making this video, I had never actually watched The Road to El Dorado, but my god do I not regret watching it. This movie is about these two con men, Tulio and Miguel, who receive a map to the legendary ancient city of El Dorado, which roughly translates to the City of Gold. So then Tulio and Miguel travel there and then get escorted by the town's high priest and a bunch of the locals, who for some reason think that they're gods after a volcano coincidentally erupts. So now with the whole town fooled, Tulio and Miguel live like gods before deciding to leave with all the gold. Tulio falls in love with this girl called Chell, who helps them pretend to be gods. But then the town leader guy finds out the truth behind Tulio and Miguel. You know, the fact that they're literally just random people pretending to be gods. So then he tries to kill them, fails, and then tries to kill them again, and then fails again. Eventually, Tulio, Miguel, and Chell leave El Dorado and search for their next adventure. Honestly, my summary of this movie does not do it justice. This movie is absolutely hilarious.
Now I'm kind of interested in watching this movie. I never knew the actual story.
And I feel like the humor still lands today. I highly recommend this one. A tier.
Okay.
But first, sponsor time. Alright, let's do this one last time.
It had to be a surf
My
shark.
name is Dave Davidson. Once a professional surfer, I was bitten by a radioactive shark. And for the past 10 years, I've been the one and only.
You know what this reminds me of with this sponsor? Internet historian. I'm not surprised that he got his concept from Internet Historian, but this time it's just doing like ranking animation movies.
Through my several years of being this city's protector, I have faced many challenges, such as dangerous hackers trying to extort money from innocent people. Ooh, not good. Cookies trying to steal private information. Oh, how dare they? Region locked shows and content.
Every time you go to a website, it always say, "Oh, you have to accept these cookies." I'm like, "What are these cookies for?" You have to accept it. You can't decline or accept it. But sometimes you have no choice but to accept it. But sometimes you cannot trust these cookies because, like you said, they can't protect your personal shit.
Free Family Guy funny moments for everyone.
Yay,
Surfshark man! Let's go,
Yay,
Surfshark!
yeah.
But that's not all. Because if you use today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, you get access to over 3,000 different servers across 100 countries. Ads blocked, viruses blocked, and your money well spent. So if you don't click the link in the description to get Surfshark VPN for 3 months free, then I'm gonna blow up a hospital. That's not a joke. The bombs are already in place and only you can stop the dying patients from surfing their last shark. Get Surfshark quick! Get it now! Hurry now! Get it!
Chicken Run, I grew up with Chicken Run. It's just mostly a story of the chickens want to escape this farm because like they are because most of their goal is that because their job is that just getting more eggs, but just getting eggs for the villain. But if they don't do it, they will get slaughtered. It get cooked by chicken pot pies. Well, they were getting eaten. Then the villain decided to she decided to change her company into a chicken pot pie company. So she decided to she gonna start killing her chickens. She used to be like someone that gathers eggs. Then she changed it to now she wants to kill her kill her chickens.
Chicken Run is a masterful movie. Somehow the stop motion in this movie has aged so well that it still holds up almost 23 years later. So Chicken Run is about a bunch of...
I think he may put in A or B because that's where Chicken Run is at. It's in the A or B tier.
chickens trying to escape an egg farm, which, let's be honest, is basically a gulag. The main character is this chicken called Ginger, who makes all these elaborate escape plans only for them to be thwarted by the owners of the chicken farm, Mr. and Mrs. Tweedy. Until this American rooster, voiced by Mel Gibson, lands inside the
I
gulag.
forgot Mel Gibson played this character.
Ginger is then amazed by his apparent ability to fly and asks him to teach her and the rest of the chickens.
But you learned that they don't really know that he's a phony because he doesn't know how to fly. they believe that he can, but he cannot fly.
Its house so that they could escape. Although
to me when I was a kid, I always thought like most of the chickens there were mostly females, except for him. But actually, there are male chickens there with them as well. Cause like the old dude chicken is a dude.
plot twist, he lied all along and didn't actually know how to fly. The scene where she finds out the truth still kind of gives me goosebumps to this day. It was actually done so...
Like, you could tell in her tears because, like, they felt betrayed. Because their whole goal is to escape. Then they find this dude a fraud. And now they may get killed.
Oh well. Anyway, so with that plan being thrown out of the window, the new plan was just to build an airplane. But then, plot twist again, Mrs. Tweety...
The airplane scene stuff was really good.
Gets on the airplane and kills Ginger. But then another plot twist, she misses and cuts herself off and falls inside of her own factory.
Then they made a second movie. I don't know why they decided to make a second movie. In the second movie, that Ginger and the other dude got kidnapped.
The chickens all escape and everyone lives happily ever after, aside from Mrs. Tweety, who literally gets crushed by a door in the end.
Then you learn that she's alive.
Editor's note, Mrs. Tweety actually survives, according to the new trailer, which recently dropped at the time of recording this. Overall, this movie was pretty good.
I don't know why they decided to bring her back. It makes no sense.
The complaint is that the story of this movie doesn't really feel all that fleshed out, and I could kind of see the twist of the rooster guy not being able to fly from a mile away. But other than that, this was a pretty fun watch. Aardman Studios is still undeniably goated. A tier.
Yeah, it should be like A or B. Shrek is like A, B. It's right there. It could be S, except for the second movie. The second movie is way better than the first one.
I absolutely adore this movie. Just like an onion, it has so many wonderful layers to it. I mean, it's Shrek. This is literally an animated classic great enough to rival the greats like Pulp Fiction and Interstellar. So Shrek is about this guy called Shrek who goes on a quest to rescue a princess so that he could get his swamp back from this guy who kind of looks like
Lord Farquaad. I love how you put Markiplier right there too.
Anyways, I'm pretty sure you guys know how the rest of this movie goes. He rescues Fiona. Fiona turns out to be an ogre. Markiplier dies, and the end. If you still haven't seen this movie, which I'm certain you probably have, you need to watch this right now. This is pretty much the equivalent of a feature-length shitpost. I guess the only thing I didn't like about Shrek was that the pacing kind of slowed down in the second act of the movie.
It did. It really did. I agree with you on that. When it hit like the second stretch of the movie, it did slow down. I think it's when it's after they rescue her. Then it's just been this whole journey. That's when it kind of slowed down. No, it's after the whole people trying to rescue Fiona, but Fiona started beating their asses too.
But other than that, this movie is hilarious and absolutely unapologetic in its humor. S tier.
Yeah. That's surprised you put S, or he may put both on in S. I don't really blame him for putting it in S. Shrek is a good movie.
If I'm gonna be honest, I had never heard of this movie prior to making this video.
I seen Spirit, but it was a very long time ago.
And judging this movie,
I forgot where to put Spirit at.
By its cover before watching it, yeah, I thought it was gonna be complete trash. But surprisingly, it's not actually that bad. This movie's about this horse called Spirit who doesn't talk but has sort of a disconnected voice for his conscience, voiced by Matt Damon. He gets captured by a bunch of Americans and pretty much decides to partake in some tomfoolery by leading an entire goddamn horse revolution and escaping, before being captured again by this Native American guy. Eventually, he gets set free, gets captured again, gets set free again, and then gets chased by the Americans, who eventually just give up after realizing that they didn't want to get beaten up by the same horse twice in a row.
I'm like, why are they going after this one horse? It's like, what was the goal? Y'all can get any horse. Well, y'all chasing this one horse.
So Spirit returns home and the end. Overall, I feel like this movie was actually good. The plot was simple whilst not being too boring, and the message of this movie is about not letting anyone enslave you and fighting for freedom. I'll give it a B tier.
I've seen Sinbad. I've seen it. It's not a bad movie, but the CGI was not helping this movie at all. The CGI was not helping this movie at all. Sinbad's a pirate. He I will tell y'all what the movie is. Sinbad's a pirate. He trying to get this thing called the Book of Peace, but in the beginning of the movie he was finding his childhood friend because he didn't know who he forgot his childhood friend was. He was fighting against him because his childhood friend was trying to bring back the Book of Peace to his kingdom because he's supposed to be the king of his kingdom, the next king of the throne. So the book got taken by Eris, the goddess of chaos. So the people was about to execute Sinbad, but then his old childhood friend said, like, I would take his spot if Sinbad can go and get the Book of Peace in like a week or so, some days. I forgot. But Sinbad, he didn't want it. Then the girl came and tried to get Sinbad to do it, and they both been fighting because they both didn't like each other. Then Sinbad started falling in love with her. Then Sinbad went and got the Book of Peace, brought it back to the kingdom. Then Eris got mad because they made an agreement. It mostly that they made an agreement that he would not bring back the Book of Peace back to the kingdom because his character was like, he's a selfish pirate. Then he found out. Then he learned that he's not selfish. Then he became a hero of the kingdom.
Sinbad was a pretty disappointing movie for me. It's not even like this was a bad movie, it was kinda alright. I was just completely underwhelmed once the credits rolled because the ending was so anticlimactic. So Sinbad is about this pirate thief guy called Sinbad. He and his crew get framed for stealing some mystical book from a kingdom that was apparently actually stolen by the goddess of discord. But
the goddess of discord, not chaos. But her powers is like chaos manipulation, but it's just discord.
And Sinbad's friend saves him from getting executed, and if they don't get the book, he literally dies.
Yes.
So the goddess of discord or whatever tells Sinbad that if he answers her question truthfully, he gets the book, but if he lies, then he doesn't get the book. And the question was pretty much, if you don't get the book, would you return to the kingdom and die, or would you run away instead?
Yeah, it's either he's gonna run away or return to the kingdom and just die.
Sinbad says that he would return, he gets called out for lying, and he doesn't get the book. Boo-hoo, now the movie's over, but nope. Sinbad returns to the kingdom at the last second, proving the goddess of discord wrong, and he gets the magic book in the end. Which I thought was a stupid ending! I mean, like, I saw that coming from a mile away.
Yeah, it was pretty anticlimactic. They should have done a lot more with it.
Whenever this man answered to the question, he would have gotten the book anyway. This question is stupid. So yeah, Sinbad is pretty Sinbad. The ending is really my only complaint with the whole movie though. It was just so anticlimactic and unsatisfying. Especially with there not being really a final climax.
It was to me it was a little bit the CGI and the ending too.
The movie. All the problems just get solved automatically. It's like the writers just gave up halfway through. I mean, at least the animation looks decent, but other than that, this
I think with it is a C tier movie. I think Eris was decently made, but the creatures were not.
Probably a C tier movie.
Shrek 2 is a really good movie. Really good movie. It's S tier.
Shrek 2 is a godsend of a movie. I'm sure it's probably no surprise to you when I say that I enjoyed this movie way more than Shrek 1.
Yeah. That's why I was surprised that Shrek 1 is in S tier, even though Shrek 2 is way better than the first one.
Toy Story 2 and Madagascar.
Yeah, cause back in the day when you do sequels supposed to be better than the original. Look at Shrek 2, Toy Story 2, Madagascar 2. They were better sequels than the first ones. Nowadays, there are movies that are better than the sequels, but sometimes they are not.
Two are pretty much
It just depends on how the writers write the movie.
Like sequels in every way. Shrek 2 follows right after Shrek 1 with Shrek and Fiona on their honeymoon. But then they get invited by Fiona's parents to their castle. They eventually get there, but then it's revealed that this was all planned by the fairy godmother and her son, Prince Charming, to try and arrange a marriage between Charming and Fiona. The next morning, Shrek encounters Puss in Boots, who was sent there to kill him, but accidentally spills the beans that Fiona's
Well, at the time, she didn't really know. Well, technically, she didn't know. She thought Prince Charming was with her, but she didn't know until she met Shrek. Then she talked to Fiona's father. Then now she planning to put Prince Charming and her together.
That Harold had sent him to kill Shrek. So then Shrek steals a happily ever after potion, which gives him the greatest glow probably in animation history. Oh wait. So then Shrek and his noble steed head to the castle, only to find out that Prince Charming had taken Shrek's place. Fast forward a bit and Shrek gets arrested before the royal ball starts. But then he gets rescued by the gang from Shrek 1 using
the chase scene and the breakout scene was good.
Pinocchio's nose.
Tell a lie! I'm wearing ladies'
I can't really say anything bad about the movie. What was the bad part of this movie? I won't say something bad about the movie. It's like, what part of the movie that was bad? I don't really know. Everything in the movie was good.
Are you? Embarrassing!
And this right here is when the greatest scene in DreamWorks animation history happens. That of course being the holding out for a hero scene. Take note, Illumination. This is how you use holding out for a hero. Shrek gets in the castle riding a giant gingerbread which later dies. Rest in peace, you will be remembered.
That was a good scene too.
Prepays his death, and Harold redeems himself by sacrificing himself at the last second, leading Shrek and Fiona to finally have a happily ever after.
Then you learn that King Harold was a fraud the whole time. You learned that he was a fraud. That because the whole thing was like, except because the fairy godmother said she helped them get to where he's at, so we don't even know what did the fairy godmother did to King Harold. Now we learned that King Harold was an actual fraud the whole entire time.
Overall, this movie is pretty much Shrek 1 but 10 times better and probably DreamWorks at its peak. The jokes all also land extremely well.
I hate Mondays.
S tier.
Oh, you're going. Oh, Shark Tales. I grew up with Shark Tales. It's not a good movie at all. It's not. Will Smith and Jack Black do help the movie, but not that much. This movie was it was not a good movie at all. I would recommend watch Mysterious Mr. Enter video about it because like it was not a good movie. No, or watch did he do a video about Shark Tales? Let me see. That's actually he did a video about Shark Tales. Yes, watch his video about Shark Tales. Watch the video about Shark Tales. It's a good video. Y'all want to see that Mysterious Mr. Enter I want to see that he did one. Yeah, he did one too. Cause this movie was not good at all. I grew up with it back then. I did like the movie because I was a little kid. But looking back at it, it was not a good movie.
Shark Tale was such an out-of-pocket and horrible movie, but weirdly also in a good way. This movie sort of solidified DreamWorks as a studio that made mostly post movies with a couple of good ones now and there. I mean, this whole thing is such an atrocious meme, but my god,
because DreamWorks is mostly on, they can make really good movies, then they can make bad movies at the same time.
Also the greatest DreamWorks movie at the same time. This movie is about this fish named Oscar, voiced by Will Smith of course, who owes the Italian mafia shark gang money. He eventually gets the money needed to pay them back from his friend Angie, but then decides to bet it on seahorse racing and loses it immediately.
Because of a girl. Let's just say that.
He's then ordered to get executed by a few sharks, but as it turns out one of the sharks called Lenny was actually a vegan, so he spares Oscar, leaving his brother to try and kill him, which results in him dying, making Oscar look like he was the one who killed an entire shark. So then Oscar parades around and lives his life as
Oscar, because this whole thing is just that Oscar is faking that, he the one that killed the shark and he became the shark slayer. So all the sharks are scared of Oscar and they don't want to get killed by Oscar.
The Shark Slayer, becoming rich and famous for killing a shark. Then the shark mafia go after him, he survives miraculously, and then confesses to not actually knowing how to murder sharks.
I Lied. Liar!
Everyone forgives him in the end, he gets a girlfriend, and the whole movie wraps up conveniently like a sitcom. What a wondrous film. Honestly, for what it's worth, this movie is not very good. I mean, the animation in itself looks atrocious and honestly made me want to rip my eyes out, but I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it. The jokes
it's some good moments. It's some funny moments in the movie. The story wasn't as bad, but the rest of the movie is just not good. Do he got a D in F? Do he got F in D tier? I will put it in like D tier.
were funny, the plot was stupid enough to be entertaining, and the movie doesn't take itself that seriously. Even though it's not the best movie out there, it was still sort of good. And for that, C tier.
He put in C tier.
I like to move it.
The second one was better. I had to say the first Madagascar. Let's be honest, the other two were better. Were better movies than the first one. The first Madagascar, the third one, even the Penguins one was made way better than the first Madagascar. But I still enjoyed the first one. I had to say I will put this in like maybe B, C, but I think I'll put like A or B.
Madagascar is a great movie, and I am putting this one very high on the tier list. I do not care what anybody says.
Really? I would not put it that high. I will put Madagascar, the first one, in B tier.
I might be kind of biased because I love these Madagascar movies as a child, but
at the end of the day, this is his ranking video, so I can't really complain. But in my case, I would put in B. Because let's be honest, the other two movies are way better than this one.
Okay. This may not be the greatest DreamWorks movie in terms of setting the standard higher, but I still think that it was pretty entertaining. This movie follows the animals living in the New York Zoo who decide to break out and get shipped to Madagascar. We got Alex the Lion, David Schwimmer Giraffe, Marty Zebra, and this hippo voiced by Jada Pinkett Smith.
I forgot she played I forgot Jada played as her. The zebra is played by the zebra is played by I forgot his name. I forgot his name, but it's the guy that got slapped by Will Smith.
So anyways, the gang reach Madagascar where they get stranded and quickly learn that without food, they become wild animals to try to eat each other. They meet a bunch of lemurs and also King Julian.
I actually like the King Julian when they introduced King Julian, then they start dancing because I always like that scene.
After fighting off some Fusa, they gain the trust of the lemurs, and with the help of the penguins, they get back to their boat to sail to New York and live happily ever after.
I love how they show this part, but then the second movie is different. You can tell that they weren't thinking about making a second movie, a whole trilogy. You can tell they wasn't thinking about making a whole trilogy because like when you watch this scene, then you watch the second one, then you watch the third one, you like, are they gonna make a second, third movie? It's like then you watch this, it's like it makes no sense because they in a boat. Then the second movie, they flying on a plane. Then they went to Africa.
Except their boat had no fuel, so the sequel happened.
Oh, that makes more sense. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie in a long time. Don't be mad at me, folks.
This is honestly one of my favorite DreamWorks movies. The plot is simple, the characters were funny enough, and the overall movie was a great time for me. Sure, this movie might not have been the best in terms of animation, but man, was it still enjoyable. S tier.
I'm surprised you put it S. Wallace and Gromit, I love this movie. I grew up with this movie.
I'm not gonna lie, this movie is heavily underrated. Hell, Wallace and Gromit as a whole is heavily underrated.
Yeah, this is a really good movie. I will put it in my opinion, even though I love this movie, I put in A.
So this movie's about Wallace and
I will put it like S, but to be honest, I will put in like A.
Gromit trying to catch a were-rabbit, a cross between a werewolf and a rabbit, from eating all of their town's vegetables. Of course, using their little inventions and whatnot. These contraptions are always the greatest part of any Wallace and Gromit movie. We also have the bad guy.
This the thing is that I never really watched other Wallace and Gromit movie. I always watched this one because this one always been the good one.
Dead set on literally just using a hunting rifle to kill the were-rabbit. Anyway, so fast forward a bit and it turns out the were-rabbit was Wallace himself, which I did not see coming on my first watch at all. He basically just terrorizes the town.
Well, it kind of makes sense because like even I knew that it was him because like it didn't make sense because like the rabbit hit his head when the machine malfunctioned. because it was already established that he was about to become a were-rabbit.
And Gromit tries to stop him by using
when I was a kid, it was kind of obvious.
an airplane and getting in a dogfight with this other dog. Walrus falls down and literally dies, but then Gromit revives him with the power of cheese.
Cheese! I'm just crackers about cheese.
What a classic movie. Once again, Aardman Studios never misses. S tier.
I got to put in S. Over the Edge is underrated as well. It's really underrated. I love Over the Edge.
Okay, hear me out when I say this, but Over the Hedge is probably one of the greatest animated movies, period. I don't know what it is about this movie, but it just sort of feels underappreciated in every way.
It is underappreciated. It's a good movie.
This is a classic movie. I loved it as a kid, and now rewatching it, I appreciate it even more. I don't know if it's that fever dream-like feeling.
I may put it in like S or A tier. It's right there. It's like S or A tier, in my opinion.
Of nostalgia whilst watching this movie, or the animation style reminiscent of Toy Story 2, but I love it. So the movie starts and introduces us to this raccoon called RJ trying to steal food from a bear, which then goes wrong.
Yeah. RJ was just steal this dude's food. It was acceptable because he was stealing his food. So he was about to eat RJ, but RJ agreed that they get all the food that he gathered. But the thing is that not just gathering random food, all the food that he specifically gathered. So RJ had to get every single product that every single thing that he had in his cave. So RJ went to these forest animals. Well, he's a animal too. Well, he went to these this group where he's about to use them to help get this food, but then he started growing feelings with the group now because he started treating them like a family. Then he just decided to start helping them out because they got captured by animal control.
Wrong. The bear pretty much forces RJ to return all the food to him in a week. RJ then finds a suburban area with a bunch of animals. He then shows them the way of kleptomania, and we get this absolute god montage of them stealing food and also the wonders of modern consumerism. Little do the animals know that RJ was actually just using them to help him steal the food back to return to the bear. So RJ literally just gaslights all the animals into doing his work for him.
He didn't gaslight all the animals. The only animal that didn't get gaslight was the turtle, because the turtle was the leader of the group, but the group didn't really listen to him about RJ, even though he was right about RJ.
But then the exterminator shows up and
the exterminator.
RJ literally just gaslights all the animals into doing his work for him. But then
it's three main villains: the bear, the exterminator, and this lady. They are the main villains of the movie.
The exterminator shows up and catches the animals after a botched heist. RJ escapes and returns the food to the bear, but then decides to change his mind and save the animals instead. And then we get this amazing fight scene with the bear, the animals, and the exterminator. In the end, this crackhead squirrel saves the day and the exterminator gets arrested. Honestly, I had way more fun in this movie
than surprised you didn't say nothing about the lady, because she's... That's surprised you didn't say anything about the lady, because she's pretty important. She's the one that actually brought the exterminator there.
I'd like to admit. The characters are so stupid, but they honestly all make up for it with how good they tie into the story. DreamWorks, please make a sequel to this movie. S tier.
No, I do not know. I do not agree with that. They should not make a sequel of this. If they are going to do a sequel, it had to be good. I seen Flush Away. I think in my in the other video about DreamWorks ranking list, I said I'd never seen the movie. I seen the movie a little bit. I ain't seen the full movie. I only seen like 30 minutes of the movie. But I thought the movie was alright. I thought the movie was pretty decent of a movie. Let's say it like that. It wasn't bad.
Okay, I might be a little more biased in my opinion of this movie, just for the fact that I used to watch this movie as a kid non-stop every day. But anyways, Flushed Away is still a great movie. aside from the human animations at the start. This movie's about this rat called Roddy, who gets flushed down a toilet by this other rat. So then he gets stranded in an underground rat city. He meets this rat girl and also these evil frogs trying to steal her ruby or something like that. But it turns out it's fake, as Roddy literally just breaks it to prove his point. It's also revealed that the evil frogman's plan was to flood the entirety of the rat city during the halftime of the FIFA World Cup final when all the humans use their toilets.
When everyone goes to the toilet, the whole city will be flushed away. He said it.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this movie along with all the other Aardman movies is very British. Like, extremely British.
Good morning, Glenn.
So then Roddy returns and defeats...
Is it?
Like...
I need to kind of think about
Oh yeah,
that.
I forgot to mention, this movie along with all the other...
I don't really know. I had to kind of think about that.
Aardman movies is very British. Like, extremely British.
Good morning, Glenn.
So then Roddy returns and defeats the
Yeah, I had
evil
to watch all
frogs,
these
freezing the
movies
giant
to-
wave in the process and saving the rat
think
city.
that.
For the most part, I
I'm
thought
not
that this
saying
was
he's wrong. I had to really think about that.
a pretty creative movie. I also sort of get how this was Aardman's attempt at trying to incorporate their stop motion films into 3D. Because without 3D, this wouldn't have been possible. But I also feel like it loses a lot of that stop motion charm. Not that the animation is bad, of course, aside from the humans, but I just prefer stop motion. Other than that, this is still a pretty enjoyable Aardman movie. A tier.
There's a lot of good stop motion movies. Oh, Shrek the Third was bad. It's just a bad movie. It was a bad movie. So you had the first movie, first one a good movie. Second one a really good movie. Third one trash. I don't know how we went to two movies that were really good to a really bad one. Then the fourth one was actually pretty good. It wasn't like better than the third. It wasn't better than the first and second one, but it was actually a decent movie. This one, by the hand, was just a bad movie.
I saw you again.
Shrek the Third was sort of a letdown for me. I don't know what it is about this movie, but it just didn't hit as hard as any of the other Shrek movies. This movie follows after Shrek 2, with Shrek and Fiona being...
Okay, this movie is mostly about Shrek found out that he got this, he found that Fiona's pregnant and he having kids. And he's just mostly, he got Stockholm Syndrome over that. Now you have to think about having kids. Then now they had to find a king because King Harold died. That was a good part of the movie. King Harold's death in the funeral. That was a good part of the movie. Then start getting bad until like you introduce the Arthur. I think Arthur's not that good of a character. I get what they were going for. Arthur, he did not want to be a king because he didn't want to take the responsibility. So he tried to run away. Shrek, he don't want the responsibility because like he's an ogre, so he don't want to be king. He don't want to be king. Then he had to worry about having a kid too. Now you have to worry about having kids too. And the main villain is Prince Charming. Prince Charming, to me, was he the worst villain in the franchise for the past like 4 movies? Yes, he was the worst villain in these movies. I understand his goal. His goal is that he wants revenge. He wants to kill Shrek for what he did to his mother, the fairy godmother.
King and Queen, and Shrek.
So he gathers the villains of all these stories to help him take over far, far away.
Anything to do with it. So then Shrek, along with Donkey and Puss, set off to find the next heir, who turns out to be someone called Arthur. And despite this kid literally being destined to be the next king, it turns out he's a huge loser with no friends. Also, while this was happening, all of the fairy tale villains, including Prince Charming, decided to team up and rule over far, far away. Shrek then gets captured by the bad guys, and then Arthur gives an inspirational speech or whatever, which somehow works and saves the day. And then Shrek and Fiona have kids, and the end. Yeah, this movie was not very good. Usually every single character in these Shrek movies are pretty likable, but throughout this movie I just sort of had a burning hatred for Arthur's character. Other than
that's why they never brought him back in the fourth one. He was not a good character.
that, the story was weak, the writing didn't feel all too fleshed out, and the jokes were forgettable. B tier.
He gave it B. I would not put in B. I'd put in like fucking D tier. that was not a good movie. B movie. I don't know what to feel about B movie. It wasn't a bad movie, but it was not a good movie either.
B movie is actually a good movie, and no, I am not being sarcastic. Even though this movie has quite the awkward premise, I found it one of the funniest DreamWorks movies ever. So on to the plot. This movie's about this bee called Bear.
I would put B movie around maybe B or C. Maybe around B or C. Cause it wasn't a good movie, but it wasn't bad either. Some of the stuff I didn't really like in the movie, I had to go back and watch the movie. I may change my mind about it, or just keep it around B.
Barry Seinfeld, who decides to not get a job as a bee because he didn't want to work a mundane office job for the rest of his life. Instead, he then decides to go out of the hive and actually talk to humans. He somehow develops a close relationship to this girl and then proceeds to sue humans for harvesting their honey.
Did you know that you have rights?
Yes, this is not a joke, this is actually what happens in the movie.
Yeah, this is what happens in the movie.
Hey, wait a sec, is that the bear from Over the Hedge? There's also the girl's boyfriend, Ken, voiced by Patrick Warburton,
He's a really good actor.
who inexplicably just decided to put so much emotion into his voice
Josh Swanson and Kronk.
for no reason.
For your information, I prefer sugar-free, artificial sweeteners made by man.
Anyway, so Barry wins the court case, the bees get left alone, and the nature just dies because without bees, there's no pollination.
Yeah.
So then they just decide to use the remaining pollen on the flowers, which apparently save nature, and everyone lives happily ever after. All in all, the bee movie was definitely a roller coaster. All of the jokes in this movie are so surreal and actually land, which I wasn't expecting. They literally kill Winnie the Pooh in this movie. You cannot make this stuff up. The plot and story of this movie is so nonsensical, yet I still love it so much for some reason. I mean, at best, this was a pretty ironic movie that's still so bad it becomes enjoyable, and at worst, it's the
it's so bad it's good.
fucking B movie. Watch it at your own risk. D tier.
Yeah. Oh, so it's a D and E tier? I did not know that. Kung Fu Panda's a good movie. I haven't really seen the other two movies, so I don't know what my opinions are on the other two movies. I've seen this one, and the fourth one's coming out this year. I think it's coming out next month. Yeah, Kung Fu Panda is coming out next month, I think. I have to look this up. Let's go to Google. Kung Fu Panda 4. Yeah, it's coming out next month. Like in like 2 weeks. Cause they're bringing back Tai Lung back, but I don't know I don't know what his story going to be in this movie. Or is it look like just bringing back like all the villains from the previous movies? I don't really know.
Kung Fu Panda is a great movie, period. The plot of this
This is a S tier movie.
movie is so goofy, yet for some reason it works on so many different levels. So Kung Fu Panda is about this panda called Po, who accidentally gets chosen to become the legendary Dragon Warrior, who's apparently the one worthy to open the Dragon Scroll and become all-powerful. Po then gets trained by Master Shifu and eventually learns Kung Fu as well as earning the trust of the Furious Five. There's also the main villain, Tai Lung, who we learn wants to take revenge on Master Shifu as he was deemed unworthy of the Dragon Scroll.
Yeah.
Eventually, Po receives the Dragon Scroll, which, plot twist, turns out to be empty, but then Po finds out that the secret to the power the Dragon Scroll holds is actually just nothing, but instead to believe in yourself.
What you need to believe in is you.
Po then uses the wisdom to beat up Tai Lung, and the end. I honestly love this movie so much. All the characters are so simple, yet have such intriguing arcs. The story was pretty straightforward, the fight scenes were funny and well made, and I can't really think of anything I dislike about it either. S tier.
See, I've been traveling.
Where do I put Madagascar? This one is better than the first one. This one better than the first one. I will put this. I'll put this in S.
Been traveling forever.
Like,
Oh no! Now I don't know where to put third one because third one's actually a good movie too.
Like I said earlier in the
Even
video,
though
I
it
think
had like a little bit problems, but I actually like the third one too.
that Madagascar 2 is a pretty perfect sequel to the first. Madagascar 2 takes place right after the first one, with the gang all leaving Madagascar in a rundown airplane being shot from a slingshot. Call it glorified Angry Birds, if you will. The airplane then crashes and they all get stranded in Africa. Alex then somehow finds his family and reunites with them, but then must go through a sort of passage ceremony, where he must beat a lion in a fight. However, Alex mistakes the fight for a dance fight and gets beaten up. Meanwhile, Gloria falls in love with a chunky Moto. God, I really just said that sentence out loud. However, their relationship doesn't really work as Gloria finds out that Moto only liked her for her body. The next day, the watering hole dries up, causing a...
Then Gloria learned that, is his name, Maurice, or More? I forgot his name. She learned that, the giraffe dude likes her.
A drought, to which the animals solve by reasonable means of literally sacrificing Melman the giraffe to a volcano. But then Melman gets saved by Gloria,
That's his name.
Proclaims her love for him. The gang then escapes through a makeshift plane led by monkeys and live happily ever after in Africa. Until the penguins leave them, and so Madagascar 3 happens. Overall, I just loved this movie. It was able to expand on the Madagascar universe so seamlessly and develop each character further, especially with Gloria and Melman's relationship and Alex and Marty's whole arc about friendship. Pretty good sequel. S tier.
Monster vs. Aliens. I do not know where to put this movie. I don't know where to put this movie. Maybe... I don't know. Maybe here we
Monsters vs. Aliens is not a very good movie. I don't really know what this movie was trying to achieve because it wasn't very funny nor was it memorable. But hey, I mean, at least they tried. Monsters vs. Aliens is about this girl who becomes...
And the TV show wasn't that good either.
A giant because of
why they decided to make a movie about this, then make a TV show that then it wasn't that good either.
Radiation.
And you can tell it was low budget too.
Something like that.
Because the animation is the same animation, almost like Planet Sheen.
And then she starts working for the CIA because plot needs to happen. There's also these other monsters, including this fish guy called Missing Link, voiced by Will Arnett. Hey, wait a second, isn't that the horse from Horsing Around? Anyway, so the president tries to communicate with a bunch of these aliens threatening to destroy the Earth, which end up going horribly wrong. So then the government sends out Team Monster to try and defeat the aliens, which they end up doing in an epic climax and the end. There's also this half-assed love story with the main character girl and this reporter guy that wasn't really that interesting in my opinion. I mean, to give it props, I at least like the character dynamics and interactions they had in this movie. But other than that, this was just a huge waste of time movie for me. All the action was done so poorly that I
may put this around like maybe D or C.
We almost fell asleep halfway through. E tier.
So you do got L tier. Your track should have been like D tier. How You Train Your Dragon, this one's like AS. This is
How to Train Your Dragon is a banger of a movie. This is probably the first 3D animated DreamWorks movie on here that actually managed to take itself seriously and be a bit more mature than the others.
Yeah.
So this movie follows the life of this scrawny Viking kid called Hiccup who lives in a Viking village obsessed with killing dragons. But Hiccup doesn't want to be a scrawny Viking kid anymore. Instead, he wants to become a man. So in an effort to prove himself, Hiccup shoots and wounds this dragon, which we later learn is a Night Fury, a type of dragon that's heavily endangered. Hiccup somehow tames the Night Fury, calling it toothless, and then discovers the dragon's nest. Fast forward a bit and Hiccup's dad, Stoic,
I don't know how the others are. I haven't seen the third one. I think they're gonna make a fourth one. I haven't seen the TV shows. Cause the TV shows take place. Cause one of the TV shows takes place after this movie to the second one. I've seen the second one. I don't know where to put the second one at. I had to kind of think about it.
Attacks the dragon's nest along with the rest of the Vikings. But then Hiccup and his friends save the day, Hiccup gets a girlfriend, and together they change the Vikings from killing dragons to taming them. Thus the title of the movie. Overall, this is a pretty solid movie. I liked it for the sole purpose that it actually had emotion. This movie just wanted to tell a cool story about dragons, and it excelled pretty well at that. So, A tier.
He gave it A. Shrek Forever After is way better than the third one.
Shrek 4 was pleasantly good. It's definitely a lot better than Shrek 3 in terms of writing alone. And also this movie had way bigger stakes than any Shrek movie had for that matter.
It did. Cause in this movie Shrek made a deal with Rumpelstiltskin. That's it. How you pronounce his name? Because Rumpelstiltskin Shrek signed a signed a agreement with him that he can have one day of being an ogre, but then you learn that no, because he wants to be an ogre just for one day because like he felt like he's not an ogre no more because like everybody likes him, so he wants to be an ogre for just one day. Then then he learned that. Then he learned in the movie when he seen Robotumskin that what he signed because he didn't read. What he signed is that it. I tried to say it correctly. I can't really talk today. What he signed was that when that one day passed, Shrek would disappear. So yeah, when that one day passes, he would disappear. But if Shrek can have true love's first kiss, like every princess movies and stuff, he can go back to his family. So his goal was to find Fiona and get back that relationship together so he can go back home. But in this movie, Fiona is stone cold. She just do not want to be in a relationship at all. She's like a war general. She tried to take down Robert Dunskin and free the other ogres and stuff. Because the ogres in that timeline there with Robert Tumskin, all the ogres are like war criminals and like all that type of stuff.
Movie starts right after Shrek.
If Fiona in that timeline, she don't really believe in like true love because like she been stuck in that castle for a very long time. So she just had this stone cold like appearance because like we all know that Fiona can fight. She knows how to fight and everything. I don't know how she knows how to fight and stuff, but she knows how to fight. Now she's a war general.
3, showing us that Shrek's life
I can't talk today, even though I know what happens in this movie.
had only become harder after he had kids. He then makes a deal with Rumpelstiltskin to have a day in his old life back before he was married in exchange for a day of his life. But then, plot twist, Rumpelstiltskin takes out the day he was born, which meant that if he
took a day he was born.
Didn't reverse the effects of the deal, he would be stuck in an alternate timeline. And in this alternate timeline, Fiona never got saved and in turn became a leader of a fierce ogre society. Donkey and Shrek never met. Rumpelstiltskin is rich and rules far, far away, which became an apocalyptic wasteland, and Puss in Boots died. Nah, I'm just kidding. He became obese. Shrek then finds out that the only way to reverse the timeline is to get a true love's kiss. Yes. So then Shrek locates Fiona and then kisses her.
Because this whole movie is that Shrek is trying so hard to get Fiona to love him.
Doesn't do anything because in this timeline, Fiona doesn't know Shrek, which results in her not being his true love. The Ogre Society then overthrow Rumpelstiltskin, with Shrek and Fiona falling in love in the process. They then kiss, the timeline reverts back to normal, and Shrek realizes that he was pretty content with his life after all. What a great ending! I actually really like the message the movie was going for, that being to just not take your life for granted. And as a whole, this movie just showed how much Shrek had developed throughout the past movies, aside from Shrek 3 of course. So, A tier.
Mega Man was a good fucking movie. I will put in S tier. I haven't really watched the TV show of it. I think I heard that it was pretty good.
Megamind is a wonderful movie that completely subverted my expectations.
I think a lot of people didn't really expect this movie to be really good.
I watched it. Something about this movie and its message just felt so genuine whilst being such a great movie to watch. So Megamind is told through the perspective of, well, Megamind, who's meant to portray—
I love how it's mostly like another Superman movie, but different.
Your standard superhero arch nemesis. There's also, of course, the main hero named Metro Man. And yep, that's 2 for 2 for Markiplier. So Mega Man pretty much devotes his entire life to trying to kill Metro Man, along with his minion called Minion. And once he eventually does succeed in killing Metro Man, he realizes that without him, his life just becomes a meaningless void. So then—
I like how even the old Batman and Superman shows, like the old Batman stuff, is like when they killed their villain. No, they killed their superhero. They like are just meaningless now because like their whole goal was just to mess with and fuck with the hero. But when they actually accomplish in killing them, their life's just meaningless now.
And he starts a romantic relationship with a woman called Roxanne while disguised as a human. And Roxanne gives Megamind the idea of just simply creating his own superhero to fill
Well,
a void.
Roxanne and him always had this relationship because he always captured Roxanne because Roxanne like Metro Man
in this life. But for some reason,
Roxanne was almost like Lois Lane, but the difference is that Metro Man and her never had like a big relationship.
Megamind chooses the worst possible candidate to become a superhero, that of course being Jonah Hill from Superbad, who turns out to be a huge incel with no bitches. And despite Jonah Hill becoming a Chad superhero, we quickly learn that he uses it for his own selfish gain, trying to steal Roxanne from Megamind after she finds out that he isn't really human after all. Jonah Hill then goes completely 180 and becomes a powerful supervillain, urging Megamind and Roxanne to find a way to stop him. They eventually find Markiplier, Metro Man, still alive, and we learn that he just simply faked his death because he got bored of being a superhero. So then Megamind decides to do an epic troll on Jonah Hill, pretending to be Metro Man. It doesn't work, and then Megamind just sucks out his powers to end. All in all, this was an amazing movie. It somehow managed to be ironic while conveying a genuine message. That message being that even if you have superpowers, the only thing truly holding you back is yourself. The duality of man, if you will. This movie also sort of had that similar effect as Shrek, whereas instead of a typical superhero or fairy tale story, it completely warps everything and does the opposite of what you'd expect.
Yeah, it's just turned like, it just decided to make the villains be like the good guys, but change the story around.
Tier.
Haven't seen Kung Fu Panda 2. I have, like I said, I haven't seen the other two movies. I'm not gonna watch the fourth one because I need to watch the other two movies.
The 2 had no reason to go this hard. I mean, you know the movie is gonna be good when you learn that the main villain called Shen's whole motive was just to become as strong as possible, and in turn apparently massacred several hundred pandas in a sort of panda holocaust genocide. This guy is literally Hitler. Like, he is no joke 100% Hitler.
It's kind of interesting with this character because I never knew that he mostly just killed most of Poe's family till like the third movie.
Fighting Hitler. Anyway, so Poe was destined to pretty much be the one to stop Shen, but then we find out Poe's tragic backstory, that being that he was abandoned as a baby as a result of the Great Panda Genocide, with his mother presumably being killed off by Shen. The scene where Poe learned all of this in a flashback was so genuinely well done, with it actually being emotional and serious, you know, unlike some other scenes in some other movies. So then Poe uses his inner peace to learn how to accept that time can heal all wounds and beats up Shen. Shen then gets crushed by a boat and dies, and the end. Yeah, this was a pretty great movie all around. I really liked how they made the main villain in this movie have a deep and personal connection to Poe, and also the fact that this peacock was just such a menacing and powerful villain. This guy is probably the second evilest DreamWorks character. Anyways, yeah, Kung Fu Panda 2 was pretty great. A tier.
I should probably put in A tier. I heard the Puss in Boots movies are pretty good. Cause this is what the first one, the other one's the second one, and everybody liked the second one. Cause to me, I always like Puss in Boots, but I've never seen the movies. I need to watch the movies cause I heard the movies are really good.
Puss in Boots
and these are like Shrek spin-offs.
Was not very good. I mean, as a generic spin-off movie to the Shrek franchise, I think it did its part. But the fact of the matter is, this movie was just average and didn't really try.
So so he didn't really like it, or it's just me, or people just like the second one, and most people just didn't really like the first one. Let's just say like that. Let's just say the first one wasn't that great, but the second one was good.
Which I find funny considering how the sequel to this is the complete opposite, but we'll get back to that.
See, that's what I said. Like the second one was good.
So plot. Puss in Boots tries to steal these magic beans from Jack and Jill, who in this movie are an outright savage murderous couple. He runs into another cat called Kitty Softpaws, who convince him to joining her and Humpty Dumpty in trying to steal the beans back. We then get this really long flashback that shows us the history between Puss and Humpty, showing us that they were once very close friends until one night where Humpty decides to rob a bank, framing Puss in the process. The scene with Puss's backstory was probably the best part from this entire movie. This scene actually had depth and was shocking, even though I did literally just watch a talking Spanish cat get betrayed by an egg. Puss, Kitty, and Humpty eventually reach the beanstalk and find the golden goose who lays golden eggs. They then steal the golden goose and then proceed to betray Puss for a second time, revealing Humpty as a twist villain. Traitor! Puss gets thrown in prison and then gets rescued by Kitty. And then
I am gonna get spoiled. I'm fine with being spoiled. I still gonna watch the movies.
Of Humpty's true intentions, which was to use the golden goose as bait for a giant goose to destroy the town. In the end, Humpty has a change of heart and decides to sacrifice himself to save Puss in the town. Overall, I thought that Puss in Boots was just sort of a mediocre movie. The only thing I actually sort of liked from the story was Puss and Humpty's whole arc thingy. The rest was just kind of forgettable and not even worth mentioning. B tier. Madagascar 3 was an amazing and phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
At least for the first 20 minutes, and then the rest of it was just generic and boring. I cannot stress enough how great the opening scene of this movie was. Hey man, love or hate DreamWorks, you got...
The beginning part of the movies was good until like the circus. Cause now the circus... it started getting good. It was good at first, then the third part. Then when it started getting, like I said, when it started getting to circus, the pace slowed down.
Gotta agree that they've made
some,
some
like the third part of the movie.
The best intro scenes to animated movies. So this movie opens to an insane action scene of the gang going on a casino heist to get the penguins back from abandoning them after the first movie. This obviously goes wrong, and so we get this intense chase scene between the penguins and this French animal control officer named Dubois, who's also the main villain of the movie. I find it really funny how they made Dubois extremely OP for no reason.
Yeah, she was super OP. I think she's the best villain they have. Yeah, she's like the best villain in these movies.
She literally has the ability to walk through walls like it's nothing.
I'm the juggernaut, bitch!
Anyway, so after this chase scene, the rest of the movie follows the gang joining the circus to evade the feds. But then we get one of those cliche movie moments where the circus people find out that the Madagascar gang lied to them and that they weren't actually from the circus. In the end, all is forgiven, the gang joins the circus permanently, and Dubois gets shipped to Madagascar. Honestly, as a third movie, it wasn't as good as I initially hoped. But there's still a lot to like about the story. Like this tiger guy who has PTSD from one of his stunts gone wrong. Also voiced by Bryan Cranston of all people.
Say my name.
Also, whilst watching this movie,
one of played the character.
My friends pointed out that the character designs look like they were made by Illumination. And honestly...
Yeah, because he's the only one that kind of had like an actual decent backstory. Interesting backstory and stuff with the other animals.
Can't unsee this. Yeah, DreamWorks were basically just ripping them off, which sucks because Illumination's character design is dog poop. Look at the humans in Madagascar 2 compared to 3. Why couldn't they just stick to this design? Other than that, this movie was kinda okay. A tier.
Rise of the Guardians. I don't know where to put this movie. Let's just hear what you have to say, because I don't know where to put this movie. I've seen the movie like 2 or 3 times.
Man, I really wanted to like Rise of the Guardians, but just something about this movie, it's just not for me, I'm sorry. The story is pretty much about these guardians based off of imaginary...
Like, the character, like, Santa and them look good. The human characters look awful.
Holiday-like creatures.
Yeah, I would say this was like maybe C or B tier. The pace slowed down.
You got Russian Santa Claus, Australian Easter Bunny, whatever the hell this is. And their whole gimmick was basically that they only exist if the children around the world believed in them. This movie was literally Inside Out before Inside Out was made. The Guardians then have to face off against the boogeyman, whose whole motive was just to be remembered.
His name is Pitch Black.
Again and instill fear among the children. And then the Guardians make the children believe in them again, thus defeating the boogeyman and saving the world.
Pitch Black's whole motivation is that he wants people to believe in him. That's his whole motivation.
The entire premise of the movie was sort of promising to begin with, but none of this really clicked with me, and in my opinion, the whole story was kinda tedious. Some of the characters were kinda cool, aside from the boogeyman, who's probably the most forgettable villain in DreamWorks history. And the concept of the movie was definitely something interesting, but this movie just sort of took itself too seriously in my opinion. I mean, who the hell directed this? Zack Snyder? B tier.
I haven't seen the second one. I've seen The Cruise. Cruise is an alright movie. Not a bad movie, but it's alright.
Okay, you guys are probably going to hate me for this, but I thought Cruise was great. For the most part. I mean, this is literally just a simple copy and paste adventure movie that just happens to be about cavemen. But weirdly enough, I actually had a good time watching this movie.
I will put this on like B tier.
Probably because halfway through I just turned my brain off and switched into caveman mode. So this movie is about a cave girl called...
I didn't hate this movie. I actually enjoyed the movie. I will watch it a couple of times. I will put it on like B tier.
Ip, who meets a cave boy called Guy. And Guy joins Ip's family as the world around them literally just starts collapsing due to an apocalypse.
This whole movie is just basically Ip and her dad's relationship.
So then they evacuate and go on a quest to try...
Cause Ip's a veteran, the dad wants to protect the family. That's really what it is.
And find tomorrow, which I think is supposed to act as both a metaphorical and a literal location. The rest of the adventure is just filled with your typical haha funny caveman moments. Look at the funny caveman discovering fire, isn't that hilarious? Please laugh. The caveman dad then saves the family from the apocalypse, discovers tomorrow, or so I think that's tomorrow, and that's it. Overall, definitely not the best movie, although the graphics did look pretty cool. These backgrounds look like they were from some Nintendo game, which I thought looked nice. Final verdict, if you're gonna watch watch this movie, just remember to turn your brain off. B tier.
Yeah, that's what I will put. I will put in B. Turbo. Yeah, a lot of people did not like this movie. I don't know what to put this movie at. Let's see what you have to say.
Speed. I am Speed. Oh wait, wrong movie. Turbo is a terrible movie, and this sucks because this movie wasn't even bad and entertaining at the same time. It was just bad. For some reason, this movie had an extremely stacked cast, including Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, and Snoop Dogg of all people.
I get the concept of what they were trying to do. They were trying to do a snail thing. Snails are slow, but you got this snail that had the ability to go fast.
This motherfucker don't miss.
Anyway, so Turbo is about the snail who dreams of racing in the Indy 500 and meeting his idol, Guy Gagne. One day he gets sucked into a car engine or something and absorbs speed powers. So then he joins these other snail racers and together they raise money to compete in the Indy 500. Turbo, against all odds, actually gets in the Indy 500, and this is when we learn that Guy Gagne is literally the twist villain, threatening Turbo to back out, revealing his true colors. But then after a massive crash, Turbo wins despite Gagne literally attempting to kill him in the end. Wow, what an insane ass movie. The whole premise of a snail competing in a major tournament is something I never thought I would see, and judging by this movie, it probably should have stayed that way. I mean, if I wanted to watch a movie about some animal who wanted to accomplish something he was passionate about despite the hardship of, well, being an animal, I would just watch Ratatouille. I have no idea what the writers
I would rather watch Ratatouille. I'd rather watch Ratatouille than this one. Ratatouille is actually a pretty fucking good movie.
Doing in the room when they wrote this, but I could definitely tell that drugs were one of them. D tier.
Yeah. Mr. Peabody Sherman is actually a good movie. I actually like Peabody and Sherman.
Thank the Lord for this movie. Mr. Peabody and Sherman is probably the only DreamWorks movie on this list next to Shrek that can tell a joke and make me go, hey, wait a second, this movie's for kids, right?
It's a booby trap.
What's so funny?
You said booby.
So the plot of this movie is about this genius anthropomorphic dog named Peabody who decides to adopt a kid called Sherman, and because of his high intelligence builds a literal time machine, using it to teach Sherman about history, which I thought was probably the best part about this movie. I just adored how the movie constantly switches between different points across history, showing us several eras in the past. It was pretty cool. So anyways, Sherman goes to
Peabody Sherman is a old like TV show, if I know about. I guess go look about it. Peabody Sherman. This show came out like what the show came out 2015. Was Peabody Sherman? Yeah, Peabody Sherman was an old TV show. This one came out like 2015 after the movie. Yeah, this is an old series, like 1959 old series. Then they bought it back and they actually made an actual good movie.
School and immediately gets bullied by this girl
People
called
barely didn't know what Peabody Sherman was until like this movie.
Penny, calling him a dog, which results in Child Protective Services being called on Mr. Peabody after Sherman bites her in self-defense. Now, I don't know about you guys, but me personally, I believe in equal rights. Equal fights. So then Peabody invites Penny's family to talk things out, and this is when Sherman shows Penny the time machine, resulting in them going back to the past. This ends up leading to two alternate universes, causing a rip in the space-time continuum, which just roughly translates to time machine brokey so universe collapses.
Yeah.
In the end, Sherman reverses all damage by taking the time machine and going fast with it, which somehow fixes the problem. So yeah, that was Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Honestly, not a very bad film. If it weren't for Penny being the most annoying character in existence, I would have probably ranked this higher, but for now, A tier.
She at least grew, especially like in the ending stretch. She started being like a piece of shit at the end.
Just like the first How to Train Your Dragon, this one was a major upgrade in possibly every way.
This one was a good movie. Well, me and my brother went to the movies to watch this movie. He fell asleep. I was like, why you fell asleep? He said he was tired. I'm like, you should have went to sleep before you went and watched the movie. I was like, this was a good movie. I watched the whole movie. I liked it.
How to Train Your Dragon 2 follows a few years after How to Train Your Dragon 1, with Hiccup being pressured by his dad to become the new chief of the town. Hiccup and Astrid then come across a bunch of dragon
Can you find out that his mother was still alive? Did the dad passed away?
trappers, trying to trap as many dragons as they can to bring to their boss, Drago Bloodfist, a fierce warmonger whose goal is to, let's see here,
conquer the world. He's a cruel, ruthless, twisted war lord. Main goal was to conquer the world with his enormous army of humans and dragons.
Conquer the world. Why, how original. Hiccup also gets kidnapped by his long-lost mother for some reason, who we also learned through a flashback distanced herself from Hiccup when he was a baby because she didn't want to kill dragons or something like that.
Yeah, it was most... Drago, he used to be a part of Hiccup and their people. Then he got kicked out. Then he released these dragons. Then the mother was trying to protect Hiccup, so she left for a very long time. I had to rewatch the movie to know more about. It's been a long time since I watched the movie, so I forgot what fully what happened. Why she didn't came back. I had to go back and watch the movie.
Drago Bloodfist then attacks them and somehow hypnotizes Toothless, making him attack Hiccup and killing
I get why he didn't want to say it. He hypnotized why Toothless got hypnotized. It's a dragon, a breed giant dragon. It's two dragons with the same abilities that can command other dragons to do their bidding.
Stoic in the process. Rest in peace. This whole battle scene is probably my favorite part.
Yeah, this dragon. So it's two dragons. It's a black one and a white one, and he controls this one
in the entire movie, because not only did it show how absolutely powerful Drago was, it also sort of humbled Hiccup. Seeing as he was now helpless against this guy with his army of dragons, it really put into perspective how utterly dangerous Drago was. Until eventually Hiccup just somehow talks Toothless out of being hypnotized.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
And then all the dragons team up, eventually making Drago retreat. Hiccup becomes chief of his town, and the end. Honestly, as a sequel to the first How to Train Your Dragon, this one was still pretty consistent in its quality. And also, it did a pretty good job in expanding the world and the characters around it. In conclusion, this is a pretty good sequel. S tier. I can't believe that DreamWorks actually had the balls to make a movie based off of the 2010 hit game Penguins of Madagascar for the Nintendo DS.
Really?
The movie was pretty mid. I mean, I guess it did its job as a spin-off to the Madagascar franchise.
I never knew that.
This movie had penguins in it. What more could you have wanted? So the plot of the movie goes like this. The penguins of Madagascar get kidnapped by this menacing octopus guy named Dave, whose whole motive was to basically just turn penguins into mutated monsters. The penguins then run into this elite gang of animal spies called the North Wind. However, the penguins just kinda treat them as a joke and refuse help from them, trying to catch Dave themselves, which ultimately backfires as Private gets captured by him. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, a lot of this movie is revolved around Private's arc in becoming a valued member of the Penguins of Madagascar team. Private eventually redeems himself, saving all the penguins in the final battle against Dave, but honestly I couldn't really take his arc very seriously. I mean, this is the Penguins of Madagascar we're watching, for God's sake. Anyways, they then defeat Dave the octopus and we get a happy ending. Overall, was it a good spin-off? Yes. Was it a good movie? The best part about this movie is probably still Benedict Cumberbatch saying the word penguin though.
Like penguins. Penguins.
B tier.
Yeah, I approve of that. I seen Home. I did not like that. I did not like this movie when I was a kid. I don't know why. I just did not like this movie.
Home was kind of a bland and forgettable movie.
Yeah.
Although I can sort of see why some people enjoy this one, I just didn't really like it too much or cared enough.
Yeah, because I did the same thing when I was a kid. I wasn't really into it. And I watched this in theaters when it came out.
For the characters. So Home is about a bunch of these aliens invading Earth, but then one of the aliens throw a party and accidentally invites some rogue alien who's supposed to be the main villain. The alien guy then teams up with this girl who's trying to find her mom, and from what I can remember, they find the mom, the big bad alien guy comes to Earth, and shockingly he turns out to be a peaceful alien all along. So the entire plot of this movie...
Because the alien was trying to find the last remain... Because this rock had like babies where they can't, so he can't, because he was the last remaining people in his kind, so he need that rock so he can save his people, because they had like offsprings.
Was for nothing. I'm trying to think of more things to say about this movie, but in all honesty, there's nothing more. It's a pretty basic DreamWorks movie, and it definitely could have been worse. D tier.
Yeah, it should be there. It was not that good of a movie. Never seen Kung Fu Panda 3, but I heard that it was actually good.
Kung Fu Panda 3 was unsurprisingly a very good movie. So far, there haven't been any bad Kung Fu Panda movies in the franchise, and
I hope the fourth one won't be bad too, because a lot of people waiting for a fourth one, and a lot of people like the three movies, and a lot of people. I hope the fourth one be good too, because like the other three movies were good.
Pray to Jeffrey Katzenberg it stays that way. So Kung Fu Panda 3 starts in the spirit realm, and here we see Master Oogway battle it out with the villain of this movie, Kai, whose whole gimmick is taking character spirits and using them to fight for him. Sort of like a twisted version of Pokemon. Kai pretty much just starts collecting people like it's nothing for the
I never knew that. That's interesting. That he can actually takes people's he takes spirits and uses them to fight for other people. That's interesting.
first half. And here we have Po, who's supposedly destined to beat him through the power of Chi, which is apparently this cool ability pandas can do, which cultivate life. So Po's dad, no, not that dad, his actual biological dad, convinces Po to go to the panda village to learn how to do the Chi. But plot twist, the pandas don't actually know how to do Chi, so this whole thing was just a liar revealed kind of trope. Kai then slowly takes the Chi out of everyone and arrives at the panda village, ready to fight Po. And in a last-ditch effort, Po sacrifices himself, taking Kai to the spirit realm. And then the other pandas save Po by unlocking their Chi, thus giving Po unlimited power, which he uses to destroy Kai. All in all, Kung Fu Panda 3 was pretty good. I especially loved how they tried experimenting with different animation techniques at the beginning and end. DreamWorks were literally itching to change up their style, and I'm so happy they did so with their most recent movies. Also, the main villain was pretty cool, I guess.
I saw that. I didn't go back.
And I'm so happy they did so with their most recent.
I would say this. I was working at Walmart. They were showing this movie like a cut all the time. I haven't really seen it. I was like, huh. I was watching it a little bit. I was like, this movie is just basically about her being at Kraken. It's mostly it's about her and her mother. It's just about her mother is just living a double life. Not living a double life. It's lying to her daughter that she was a Kraken, and she found out that her grandmother is the leader of the Krakens and everything. And the main villain is mermaids.
Movies. Also, the main villain was pretty cool, I guess.
And the character is a teenage girl, and she likes this boy. She tried to go to prom with him.
Not nearly as intimidating as Shen from the previous movie, but hey, I think J.K. Simmons did a good job with the voice acting.
You're fired.
S tier.
Never seen Trolls.
Trolls. Need I say more? I'm not gonna waste your time with this one. Trolls is a terrible movie and literally
I've never seen none Trolls movies. All are pretty bad.
Every aspect.
Really
The plot consists of junk probably only a 2-year-old could mistake for a movie, which is this movie's target audience in the first place.
Yeah.
Who knew babies could be this profitable? Okay, so plot, right? There's this girl troll who likes partying, and then her friends get kidnapped by a big stinky Bergen. So then she teams up with this other troll who is very sad and angry because apparently singing killed his grandma or something like that.
How did singing kill your grandma?
I'm over here stroking my dick.
Then they rescue the other trolls from the Bergens and teach them the meaning of happiness. And then they have a dance party ending. I cannot express this enough, but Trolls is really bad. I feel like even movies like Minions or Boss Baby have more maturity.
I'd rather watch Minions. Because let's be honest, I actually kind of like Minions. Minions wasn't bad like Boss Baby, you know.
Trolls. Every attempt at a joke here just felt like they were trying to spoon feed it to me like I was an infant. Like, hey look, the joke's on screen. The only thing possibly more aggravating than this movie is the fact that DreamWorks is now making this into a trilogy. Because why not, you know? Let's just ignore every other good movie we made in favor of the haha funny pop trolls because, ooh, money! F tier, absolute trash.
Love, sweet love.
I haven't really fully watched Boss Baby. I only watched like 30 minutes and dropped it.
The Boss Baby is one of the most brain-dead, retarded movies to ever come into contact with my frontal lobe. And for that, I love it. I have no idea why, but I had the best time of my life watching The Boss Baby of all movies. Anyways, so The Boss Baby is about this baby who wears a suit and talks. And it's funny, because, you know, he's a baby. There's also this other kid called Tim who tries to get rid of the Boss Baby by having him ran over by a car. And then Tim and the Boss Baby team up to try to stop an evil organization from launching immortal puppies. Because babies and puppies are apparently mortal of enemies in this movie. There's also these chase scenes that happen between the boss baby to try and stop the evil bad guy from doing his evil bad things.
Well,
and for some reason,
it's mainly about cuteness. That's really what it is.
The music went so incredibly hard that I forgot I was watching the boss baby in the first place. After all this stuff happens, the boss baby triumphs and gets promoted, but then just decides to throw it all away to become a normal baby. And that's pretty much it. Wait, hold on a second. No, not again! No! So yeah, that was The Boss Baby. Honestly, not the best movie out there, but somehow also not the worst. Anyways, C tier, I guess.
Never seen Captain Underpants, but it based on a book.
As an avid fan of the Captain Underpants books as a kid, I can 100% tell you that this is an amazing adaptation. Not only did this movie capture the essence of reading these books, it adds on to them, with more depth and thought put into the story. So just like the books, Captain Underpants focuses on the two kids, George and Harold. We also learn that they constantly get in trouble at school because of some minor trolling, and also their evil principal, Mr. Krupp. The next day they have to sit through some kid called Melvin's presentation, who's also quite literally the nerd emoji in human form, and Melvin pretty much uses a hidden camera to snitch on George and Harold. So to avoid them from being in separate classes, George uses a hypno ring to hypnotize Mr. Krupp into becoming Captain Underpants. And then we get possibly the greatest intro scene to any superhero ever.
Underpants. Check.
We also learn that if you snap near Mr. Krupp, he turns into Captain Underpants. But if you throw water at him, he turns back to Krupp, just like in the comics. The next day, this German inventor called Professor P applies to be a science teacher. But then George and Harold unveil that the P in his name actually stands for Poopy Pants, causing all the kids to laugh at his expense. Yes, this is real. This guy's whole villain origin story was that he was once a successful inventor that nobody took seriously because of his name. So now he's taking his revenge in society by teaming up with Melvin and attempting to rid the world of laughter by making a giant toilet. And we get this amazing action scene told through the perspective of Flipporama. Man, they really thought of everything, didn't they? So Professor Poopy Pants uses his anti-laughing ray to try and stop George and Harold from laughing, which end up backfiring on him. In the end, George and Harold decide what's best is to break the hypno ring, thus killing Captain Underpants. Until at the very end where Captain Underpants returns, setting up the next sequel. If only. Captain Underpants is such a great
it's supposed to be a sequel
movie. It excels at pretty much everything a Captain Underpants adaptation could have excelled at, and perfectly captures what it's like to read a Captain Underpants book, all down to the small details in the art style and writing. DreamWorks, please make a sequel. S tier.
I haven't seen
How to Train Your Dragon 3 is great, there is no denying that. For some reason I never really paid close attention to this series, but now having rewatched
it, this story is mostly about Toothless and getting him a relationship to help his kind.
The entire trilogy, this is cinema. So this movie starts a few years after Hiccup becomes chief, but then he learned that this warmonger called Grimmel was trying to hunt down his Night Fury. Also, he was apparently responsible for endangering them in the first place and wanted to finally make them extinct. So then Hiccup starts to search for the Hidden World, a supposed safe haven for dragons to live in harmony. Oh yeah, and they also discover the female Night Fury, the Light Fury, who I actually thought was much needed to the plot to develop Toothless's character. Hiccup and Astrid eventually find the Hidden World and see Toothless and the Light Fury as a couple, leading the vast nest of dragons, but then they get outed by the dragons as intruders. In my opinion, this was a huge turning point in the story, because it's when Hiccup first realizes that humans should be leaving the dragons alone as opposed to trading them like pets. Hiccup then plants an ambush on Grimmel's army, which works until Grimmel tranquilizes Toothless. But then Hiccup gets saved and Grimmel falls 1,000 feet into the ocean, possibly shattering every bone in his body and killing him instantly. Hiccup then decides what's best is for all the dragons to be set free to live in the Hidden World. And then we get this emotional scene of everyone letting their dragons go, and man, it was perfect. There's also this ending scene of Hiccup and Toothless reuniting, where Hiccup and the other Vikings vow to keep the dragons a secret from humankind until they're ready to coexist without some crazy lunatic trying to murder them. This right here, ladies and gentlemen,
is kind of interesting. They let them go, but they kept the secret of the dragon kind from other people.
Perfect ending to this trilogy. Honestly, I have pretty much nothing else to say. The How to Train Your Dragon series is consistently great, and you should go watch it. S tier.
I didn't make it a 4-1. Never seen Abominable.
In my opinion, Abominable was very abominable. For some reason, this movie tries way too hard to be a Pixar movie and fails at literally every possible way. So Abominable is set in Shanghai, China, and revolves around this Yeti escaping and befriending this girl named Yi. And in an attempt to hide the Yeti from the feds, her and 2 other kids set out on an adventure to Mount Everest to try and return the Yeti to his home. Also, somehow this Yeti has unexplained mythical powers which just conveniently help Yi in times where the situation seems hopeless. I mean, some people call that convenience. I call that bad writing. There's also for some reason a twist
bad writing. If a random creature have all these abilities, without no explanation. It makes no sense.
In this movie, which makes absolutely no sense. There's no point for her to be a twist villain. Just play the movie out normally. Don't pull any of this Disney bullshit.
You could just make her like an actual villain.
The movie ends with the Yeti using his powers to escape and finally return to Mount Everest. Jesus Christ, man, what even was this movie? As far as I can remember, Abominable was bad, but not on a level next to Trolls bad. It's still a pretty decent movie if you remove the awful twist villain. So just for that, B tier.
Like you said,
and speaking of Trolls, Trolls World Tour. Need I say less? I actually hated this movie so much. So much that I'd even go as far to say as it's worse than any Pixar or Illumination movie I've ever seen. Anyways, the plot of the movie goes like this. Ages ago in the Trolls universe, there used to be a lot of trolls according to different genres of music like rock, classical, and jazz. And they have like this big guitar thing that they each rip the string out of or something. And the main villain, who I don't even know the name of, is trying to steal all of the strings to form sort of a troll's version of an infinity gauntlet. She eventually gets all the strings and snaps her fingers, which wipes out half the population of trolls.
What?
Or so I wish. The actual movie consists of the Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick troll going on an adventure to try and befriend the bad guy troll, which doesn't work, you know, because she's evil and stuff. There's also a bunch of K-pop trolls for some reason. Hey, wait, if K-pop trolls exist in the Trolls universe, doesn't that mean there's a Trolls North Korea? So in the end, all the Trolls music gets deleted or something, but then everyone just unites and sings a song which restores the balance in the Trolls universe, blah blah yada yada yada. Whew, thank God this movie's over with. Okay. I'm not even mad anymore, I'm just mainly disappointed with how consistently bad this movie was. Like, where were all the music factions in the last movie? Why did nobody mention the Bergens throughout the whole thing? Is anyone even still watching this video up until this point? Anyways, yeah, that was Trolls 2, just get in the bin.
He got the movie threw in the bin. That's funny. I haven't seen
Croods: A New Age was surprisingly a great movie. This movie was definitely slower paced than the first and had less action, but it makes up for it with funny characters and just overall a funny premise. So Croods: A New Age starts after the events of Croods 1, with Eep's family trying to find a place to settle down, until caveman dad Grog discovers a wall, leading them to a rich paradise-like oasis.
Right here. All your needs will be met.
I'm hungry.
In a minute!
However, they learn that the land is already owned by a couple called the Betterments, who apparently know Guy as they were best friends with Guy's parents before they got unalived. There's also the Betterment's daughter named Dawn, who the Betterments actively try to set Guy up with. So half the movie is pretty much the Croods living in an advanced oasis, with the Betterments actively trying to gaslight Grog into giving them Guy and leaving forever, which I thought was hilarious. The first 30 minutes of this movie is basically just a sitcom. I mean, to be fair with the Betterments, you gotta do what you gotta do. Gaslight, gatekeep, Grog. So in retaliation, Grog decides to eat all the bananas around the island, which were apparently off limits as they were key to the survival of the Betterments and keeping an angry horde of punch monkeys out of the island. And now with no bananas, the punch monkeys get pissed and kidnap Grog, Guy, and Betterment. And through an elaborate backstory, we find out that the monkeys were using the bananas to feed a giant monster monkey. And then Eve, along with the rest of the pack, save Guy and Grog and defeat the giant monkeys. The end. Honestly, this movie was such a surprise to me. I was actually having the best time of my life watching the Croods of all movies. Also, the environments are pretty cool. Definitely an improvement to the first. B tier.
I haven't really seen this one, so kind of interesting. Yes, they did make a Spirit movie.
Spirit Untamed is a trash, forgettable movie.
Yeah, it's pretty forgettable. Like I never knew they even made a second one until like 3 years before. I never seen it. The first one was actually pretty good. This one was not.
I literally never even heard of this movie before making this video, and I think there's a good reason why. There's not even a proper reason as to why anybody should watch this movie. I mean, if you turn this movie on for a bunch of kids, they'd probably all get bored anyway. Look, I have no idea what this movie even was. Who asked for this? I do not care what happens to this girl, or this guy, or anybody in this movie. The plot of the movie is very simple. Girl likes horse, girl frees horse, girl owns horse. The end. Yeah, that's literally it. I mean, besides the main bad guy, who's this cowboy guy who I actually kind of rooted for, that's all this movie had to offer. You guys remember how the first Spirit movie was about riding free and being independent? This movie literally has Spirit from that movie, and I guess he's just the pet of some random girl now, even though the movie is literally called Spirit Untamed.
Read, nigga!
But also, I mean, this was sorta expected coming from a Netflix movie adaptation. I mean, just look at the animation in itself. F tier, absolute garbage movie, never watch it.
Never seen this one.
Boss Baby 2 is kind of a pointless movie in my opinion. I mean, even after rewatching Boss Baby 1, you could tell that DreamWorks were opting for this to be a standalone film, but hey, money changes people. Boss Baby 2 takes place about 30 years or so into the future. We got the adult Boss Baby and adult Tim, and now you're probably thinking, why the hell is this called Boss Baby 2 if the Boss Baby is the boss adult? Well, simple. They literally just de-aged them through some magical milk. I mean, did you seriously think DreamWorks were gonna let one of the most profitable characters go like that? So the rest of this movie follows as Tim goes to school with his daughter to uncover the truth behind the school's principal, which—
Wait, really? That's what... See, I never knew that, because I never seen the movie. So, you telling me the characters are adults, they de-aged them so he can... So the characters can follow one of the characters' daughters. Okay.
Turns out to be a baby somehow. And his entire plan was just to hypnotize all the parents to become zombies, making a baby revolution. Well, that's a stupid plan. So then the principal baby gets defeated and we get a happy ending. Yeah, this movie was complete garbage. Not only is the main plot so generic and tedious, but the main villain baby was such a retarded character that I swear to God I almost popped the vessel watching this movie. In conclusion, even if you somehow like the first Boss Baby, just don't watch this. E tier.
I heard this movie was good. I heard that the Bad Guys was a good movie. I'm interested in watching the movie, but I haven't reached it.
Thank God for The Bad Guys. This movie is such a great breath of fresh air. I cannot even begin to describe how pumped I was to rewatch this movie after sitting through Boss Baby 2. This movie is just overall great. The art style, the animation, even the music all just ties together so well. Anyway, so this movie's about this group of notorious bank robbers called the Bad Guys, who try and do a final robbery to cement their legacy, but then fail it. There's also this hamster guy who's supposed to be like a goody two-shoes philanthropist like Mr. Beast. But then as it turns out, he's the twist villain and frame the bad guys which get them arrested. And then they get saved by the Crimson Paw, a character definitely created without any malicious intention. The wolf guy and snake guy—
It was created for It was created for that. Let's be honest. People were simping for this character, almost like how people were simping for Lola Bunny. That's what they did. Because after she was created, right there, R34 deviant art right there. I don't even know this character. I saw the design. That's a cool design of the character. Don't even know the character. Never seen the movie.
They have a falling out together, and then the hamster teams up with a snake guy, and then the snake guy betrays the hamster, and then the hamster and the bad guys both get arrested, and the end. All in all, this movie was actually really good. Sure, the story was kind of predictable and not really that enticing, especially with the twist villain, which I actually predicted from a mile away, and the characters weren't really all that fleshed out, especially the side characters, which didn't really have enough screen time in my opinion. But that doesn't really matter to me.
I think the only ones that were fleshed out was the snake guy.
Because this movie was still a fun time. Good movie, A tier.
This movie, I heard that a lot of people like, and I never seen it.
Buckle up, boys. This is gonna be a
most of these movies I had never seen.
Very long review. For some reason, I had never thought about watching Puss in Boots 2 until I was doing research for this video. I actually had the chance to watch this movie, but I decided to watch Black Panther 2 instead, and my god, now I completely see why everyone hated me at the end of my 2022 video. Puss in Boots is everything I could have wanted.
Because, let's be honest, Black Panther 2 was not a good movie. I don't want to say it was terrible, but it was not a good movie either.
Plus more from a Puss in Boots movie. The movie starts with Puss in Boots partying and fighting.
I wish that I watched this movie. Then I wish I'd rather watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish than Wakanda Forever. The only reason why I watched that movie because I was a Marvel guy. I'm not a Marvel guy no more. I love being a Marvel guy after that movie.
And creature animated.
I love being a Marvel guy since Doctor Strange, the second one. Then the only reason why I decided to watch that movie was because of Chadwick Boseman.
Yes, of course. I find it amazing that you could tell that whenever the FPS in this movie drops, you're about to see the most beautiful animation ever conceived. Because even though this movie took notes from Spider-Verse's animation style, it still pulls it off so incredibly well. Every single fight scene feels more alive than ever, despite there being lesser frames for my smooth brain to perceive. And honestly, that's fine, because you don't need 400 FPS 4K Quickster clips for smooth animation in the first place. I honestly adore this art style so much, and I see so much potential with it in the future. Kung Fu Panda 4. Back to the plot. Puss in Boots gets crushed by a giant bell and wakes up to find out that he's on his last life. And then it cuts to this montage of Puss doing some questionable activities. So then Puss drinks at this bar and what the hell was that sound? Well, that was horrifying. Without a doubt, Death is now probably my favorite DreamWorks villain of—
Oh, okay, so he's supposed to be representative of Death. So I don't know this villain. I heard that a lot of people like this villain. So his name is Death. I will call him Death the Wolf because he's legit a wolf. So I don't know what his goal is. His goal is just to watch Puss's death. Is he supposed to watch Puss dying, or he's supposed to kill Puss? I don't really know.
all time, and it's literally no contest. The fact that Death was such a horror-oriented villain makes him work so well. This man is literally just a DreamWorks version of Pennywise. Every scene with this goddamn wolf in the movie had me replaying it 10 times just because of how good his character is. So then Puss finds out about the wishing star, which is a magical star capable of granting one wish. Puss then realizes that he could use the wishing star to get his 9 lives back. So then he attempts to steal the map to the wishing star from this guy called Big Jack Horner. Although big is kind of an understatement for the absolute size of this lad. Puss also meets Kitty Softpaws on his way out. Yeah, remember Kitty Softpaws from the first movie? I'm sure you don't. They then team up along with this emotional support puppy to go through this magical portal dimension. But then Puss and Kitty get stopped by Goldilocks and Jack Horner. So then they have this epic fight and... Puss eventually reaches the wishing star, but then gets challenged by Death in a duel, to which Puss fully accepts his fate and starts fighting. This is the moment Death pretty much realizes that Puss now values life, so he decides to just spare Puss. Puss then destroys the wishing star, Jack Horner pulls a Terminator and dies, and then they sail off into far, far away. Wait, far—
Oh, okay. Oh, so these Puss in Boots movies are prequel movies. I thought it was like side stories. But no, these are prequel movies. I never knew that. That's interesting. Cause like they never really told us where Puss came from. Now it makes sense. Puss came from these two movies. Cause this is before he went to Far, Far Away. That's interesting. Now I need to watch this movie.
Far, far away. Shrek 5 confirmed! So yeah, that was Puss in Boots 2. Unexpectedly, one of the greatest animated movies I've ever—
Is this a prequel or this is just going to part 5?
Ever seen in my entire life. The animation is smooth and expressive. The characters were all likable and had development throughout the movie, aside from Jack Horner, who was just kind of an asshole to everyone and didn't change at all. I still find it funny how this guy literally just brutally kills off his own henchmen for fun. People die in this movie and it is hilarious. Anyways, I feel like I've been talking about this movie for way too long now, so I'm gonna move on. Although my review probably still does not do this movie justice, so just go watch it. I declare this movie delicious. S tier.
Ruby Gilman.
And finally, to end off probably my longest video I'm ever going to post on this channel, Ruby Gilman Teenage Kraken. Jesus Christ, that is a very long title. Apparently, this movie did pretty poorly for DreamWorks, seeing as it literally broke a record for being the least performing in the box office. And looking at the movie theater when I walked in to watch this movie, yeah, I could tell something went very wrong. So the plot of this movie is about this teenage Kraken, Ruby Gilman, trying to fit into a high school. She tries to ask out this boy to prom, but then it goes horribly wrong, and as it turns out, if she falls into the ocean, she turns into a giant Kraken. Yeah, this is basically just Luca X turning red.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
In the second half, we learned that
even though I've never seen Ruka, never seen Turn Red, even though I know the premise is just that she can just turn into a Kraken every time she goes to the water.
Amazing Krakens were apparently at war, which caused the Kraken mom and Kraken grandma's relationship to fall apart. But that doesn't stop Ruby from befriending this mermaid girl, which turns out to be a twist villain. Surprise, surprise. Ruby and her Kraken—
I forgot what her villain name was.
Mom and grandma then just start beating up the mermaid girl.
Yeah,
Ruby goes
to
prom,
hearing it all the time at Walmart.
And the mom and the grandma apologize to each other because even time can heal a broken relationship. But not this movie's performance at the box office. Honestly, this one was also a big disappointment in my opinion. The first few minutes were pretty good. I really dig this cool aesthetic they had going on with the city in high school. But then the second half, where they do all this random mermaid stuff, just kind of bored me to death. Also, the mermaid twist villain was kind of awful and didn't even pose as a really big threat in the end. I will admit that this movie isn't that bad. It's just not that good either. I guess my expectations were just too high after watching Puss in Boots 2. DreamWorks, you were doing so well, man. Just why B tier? Overall, DreamWorks is a great animation studio and there's no denying that.
Yeah.
And after over 100 painful hours of watching nothing but DreamWorks movies, here's my final ranking. In order of best to worst, we have Shrek 2, a timeless masterpiece and one of the best DreamWorks movies ever made. Megamind,
Yes.
an unironically good movie.
So he's just giving us the runaround.
Which actually teaches a valuable life lesson. Shrek, probably the funniest DreamWorks movie ever made. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, a movie with a surprisingly great plot and probably the best villain. The Prince of Egypt, an actual work of art in movie form. Madagascar, another classic DreamWorks movie. Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, probably the best Wallace and Gromit movie out there. Madagascar
It
is
is. Let's be honest, it is. Did everyone watch the other movies except for that one? It's just me. I'm the only one that watched the Wallace and Gromit one. That's the only one that a lot of people watch.
To Africa, a well-made sequel to the first Madagascar. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, a great ending to a great trilogy. Kung Fu Panda, another timeless classic. How to Train Your Dragon 2, an amazing sequel with a pretty cool villain. Over the Hedge, surprisingly an amazing and hilarious fever dreamish-like movie. Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, one of the greatest movie adaptations of all time. Kung Fu Panda 3, a pretty well-written movie all around. The Road to El Dorado, great classic that still holds up today. The Bad Guys, a movie with a simple yet interesting plot and also a cool art style. How to Train Your Dragon, one of the more serious DreamWorks movies, but it's still pretty good. Kung Fu Panda 2, a great movie with a villain that is literally Hitler. Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, a mostly mediocre movie aside from the amazing opening scene. Shrek Forever After, pretty much just Shrek, but what if? Flushed away. Probably the most British DreamWorks movie. Mr. Peabody and Sherman, a pretty great movie about history and time travel. Chicken Run, a genuinely great stop-motion movie with an enthralling storyline. Penguins of Madagascar. For a Madagascar spin-off, it's pretty alright. Ruby Gilman Teenage Kraken. Mediocre movie, but pretty cool environments. The Croods: A New Age. Ironically, an amazing sequel to Croods 1. Puss in Boots. Mediocre Shrek spin-off movie. The Croods. An alright movie about funny cavemen. Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. For how low my expectations were for this movie, it was pretty good. Rise of the Guardians. Great movie, just not my type. Shrek the Third. Probably the weakest Shrek movie. Abominable. The movie with probably the worst twist villain I've ever seen. Boss Baby. A movie I actually enjoyed for all of the wrong reasons. Shark Tale. An ironically good movie because of how bad it is.
Yeah.
Ants. A mediocre movie probably on the same level on A Bug's Life. Sinbad: The Legend of the Seven Seas.
Because let's be honest, a lot of people compete with. You had to say which one's better, Bugs Life or Ants.
Okay movie for the most part, but the ending is garbage. B movie. This is literally a shitpost in movie form. Turbo. Just watch Ratatouille. Home. I mean, you can tell they tried. Monsters vs. Aliens. A boring movie with not really anything too special. The Boss Baby Family Business. A movie I hated for all the right reasons. Trolls. A movie that feels like it was made by Illumination. Spirit Untamed. A bad movie and literally every...
It does. If all those troll movies feel like they should be Illumination
possible way. Trolls World Tour. Once again, get in the bin!
So, this is the end of the video. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe to the channel. And subscribe to Chaze as well. Because I know this is a long video. And I am going to post it too. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe to the channel. And subscribe to Chaze as well. I will see you guys later and goodbye.